Yeah, so I'm Richard Hills. It's really weird still getting used to people calling me Councillor Hills, but you can just call me Richard because Councillor Hills sounds a bit odd. But basically I am a Auckland councillor. I'm elected from the North Shore, but I am on the council for the whole of the city. So I sit with 19 other councillors and the mayor, and we make all the decisions for Auckland, basically. How I got here was a whole random range of things. So basically, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So, you don't always need a massive plan for your life. I was always interested in community, always interested in making changes and doing cool things, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went to uni, did communications, and then I worked as a manager in a restaurant for a while. I also worked in promotions at the Edge for a little while, and kept kind of floating around between different things and different passions. And then I also remember getting involved in some council stuff. We were trying to set up a skate park in Glenfield, where I live, where I went to Glenfield College. And I remember going and presenting to the council at the time, or the community board, and it was a lot of older people, and that's fine, but they were just so anti-young people. So we went up with this proposal about upgrading the skate park, getting cool things done, and they just kind of shut us down and said we were just going to go there and drink and have sex, and it was going to be terrible, and we were going to ruin the neighbourhood. And so that kind of got me thinking, well, maybe we need some younger voices in the council. So I kind of did some investigation. I was doing some more youth-related volunteering, and this woman, Anne Hartley, who was a MP, but also she'd been the mayor of North Shore before, she kind of approached me and said, well, how about you run for our ticket on the local board? And at the time, it was when the Super City was being set up, so this was the first time they were going to have local boards. So I didn't really know what it was, and I found out it cost quite a lot to buy all your billboards and all your brochures and advertising and those sorts of things. So I was really lucky in that sense that she said, look, I'll put a couple grand into your campaign, and if you win, you can pay me back, but if you don't, it was just a good experience. So I was kind of like, well, that's pretty good. Win-win kind of situation there. But I did not think I'd get elected. We went out and worked hard and talked to people and got a lot of my friends who were just not interested in council at all, focused on things like public transport, youth issues, upgrading parks, different things like that. And on election day, and it was 2010, so I was 23 at the time, I got elected to our. So there were 24 candidates, and there was only 8 members of the local board, Kaipatiki local board, which is on the shore, and I was the 8th, so I just kind of scraped in, which was pretty exciting. So that was a part-time role. I also worked part-time at Sexual Health as a youth worker, working in mostly around in high schools around sex and sexuality and alcohol and drug prevention, suicide, mental health, all those kind of things. So I managed to kind of weave those two passions together, and one of the most important things to me on the board was getting some youth-related stuff done. So I worked with some community organisations and got some children's panels set up in the intermediates and students panels in the colleges. And so 6 years later, it took a while getting younger people involved, but we managed to open a brand new youth centre, the first on the shore, which just opened in February. So that's a really big and quick kind of overview of some of the things we got involved with. But to do all those things, I had to obviously get the other 7 members, or at least a majority of the people on the board, to support that. We're talking large budgets and decisions that the media would maybe attack us on, or other people in the area. I know once again we got a lot of the views of maybe people who weren't that in tune with youth voices, that you're going to set up this youth centre and it's going to become a drug den and it's going to have all this intense stuff happen, and obviously nothing like that has happened now, so it's kind of like shame. But it was really kind of trying to get, and I'm just turned 30, so I'm not youth anymore, but during that time I tried to get younger views involved. So how do you do that? You kind of have to be a little bit sure of your own values. So all the stuff you're all going to be doing in school and with Young Enterprise, you're going to have to focus on the values that are true to you, but also listen to what other people have to say. So you're maybe not always going to get your way. I definitely had to negotiate and shake things up along the way and kind of give and take a bit. But it's also about not hating people's opinions or getting really angry if you don't get your way, because sometimes it takes a few knockbacks, in my case, a few angry stories in the paper and a few kind of angry emails or tweets and things. But generally, if you work hard and you believe in what you're doing, you can get more and more people on board and they kind of believe in you and believe in what you're saying. How I got onto the council was George Wood, who was the councillor for the North Shore with Chris Darby. He stepped down really last minute, so about a week to go before the nominations closed. And I wasn't planning to stand because it's about $15,000 to kind of run a really good campaign, and I didn't have that kind of money just lying around. And I thought, George is well known, he's going to get re-elected, that kind of thing, so I'll just stick to the local board. But then suddenly when he stepped down, I started getting tweets and phone calls and messages and a whole lot of people saying, like, you need to stand, especially around things that I've been passionate around housing, public transport, cycling, and a lot of youth engagement kind of issues. A lot of people were kind of passionate to see that, my views maybe in the council. So I thought, once again, I had no plan. 12 hours or 24 hours before the close off, I just threw my name in the hat. I put a fundraising page on just on Facebook and Twitter, and then raised about $9,000 in 2 weeks just from mates, family, just $20, $40 here and there, which not everyone can do, and I didn't think I could do, but it happened, so that was great. And then we worked, just talking to people, and what you guys have to do to sell your businesses and the ideas you want to get across is just talking to people, making them understand your point of view, listening to their point of view, and trying to meet some sort of medium ground, which is what I did. I still didn't think that I could win the North Shore. The North Shore's very broad. I'm young. I'm also gay. I thought that might have issues there. But thankfully, there was no kind of, I did get a few angry tweets about the homofication of council and somehow that I was going to make everything in council gay. I don't know what that means, but that's the kind I was getting quite a lot of abuse from a few people, but you just block them really fast. So I wasn't that worried about that. Yeah, so those things weren't barriers. Everyone told me they would be. A lot of people said don't, push the youth engagement stuff too far because only older people vote, so you're not going to pick up their votes. But in the end of the day, I had nothing to lose. I stuck to what I believed in, and in the end of the day, I got voted in. I only got elected by a margin of 128 votes, so it was pretty close. So, those last couple of days when you're exhausted and getting up at 6 in the morning and going to bed at 10 or 11, getting home from campaigning or at the bus stops or the ferries or whatever, you're kind of totally over talking to people and smiling, and I'd have sore cheeks from just saying the same thing over and over again. And when people get angry, you're just like, yeah, I love your opinion. But, I was, every single thing actually mattered because I only won by 128 votes. So it was thousands and thousands of votes in it, but it was such a tiny margin that even if I'd given up one day earlier or hadn't gone to the ferry that morning or the buses at the end of the day, I probably would have lost. It's such a small margin. So now in the council, it's pretty weird. It's like Matt said, councillor, still getting used to that. Really getting used to having someone to help me out staff-wise. So I still feel really bad asking for someone to reply to my emails and things. Like, I prefer to just sit there and be like, do you mind doing this? Where other councillors like, no, yes, like throwing out things. So I think if I get to that point, I'll hopefully leave. But yeah, it's a weird adjustment, and always being the youngest, and a few like News Talk ZB and a few other people rang, was like, what's it like being the only openly gay councillor? And I was like, I think just kind of like what all the other councillors kind of feel like. But yeah, it's just weird kind of labels, always the youngest, and what are your views? I can't represent every young person in Auckland, but I hope that maybe, I don't know how many years I'm the youngest by, but people actually do listen to my views. Phil Goff, the mayor, he's really open to questions. I can go up to his office and be like, can we do this, can we do that? And staff, and if you put in the effort, people want to listen to what you have to say and change things. And yeah.